He laughed at it, not a polite chuckle, not a curious smile, but the kind of laughter that comes from certainty. Dr. Jonathan Hale, a respected American physician trained in evidence-based medicine, had seen countless alternative remedies rise and fall. So when a Filipino nurse casually mentioned an herbal mixture from her village that did what antibiotics couldn't, he dismissed it instantly. Plants, roots, leaves, old stories passed down by tradition, not science. Or so he believed. What Dr. Hale didn't know was that this single conversation would pull him into a journey that would challenge everything he thought he understood about healing, culture, and the limits of modern medicine. Dr. Hale had built his career on precision. Clinical trials, peer-reviewed journals, and hospital protocols were his world. Working at a large teaching hospital in California, he specialized in infectious diseases, an area where protocols mattered and deviations could be dangerous. To him, herbal medicine was, at best, a placebo and at worst, a harmful distraction. He had seen patients delay proper treatment, trusting unverified remedies, only to arrive too late. So when Maria Santos, a Filipino nurse on his team, mentioned a traditional herbal preparation used back home, he waved it off with a joke. Maria smiled politely, but something in her eyes suggested she knew more than she was saying. Maria had grown up in a rural province in the Philippines, where hospitals were far away and doctors scarce. In her village, elders passed down knowledge of plants used for generations. These remedies weren't alternatives. They were the first line of defense. When Dr. Hale laughed, she didn't argue. She simply told him a story about her uncle, who survived a severe skin infection after months of failed treatments, using an herbal paste made from local leaves. Dr. Hale listened, arms crossed, skeptical. Stories, he thought, were not data. Still, something about Maria's calm confidence lingered in his mind longer than he expected. Weeks later, a case arrived that would test Dr. Hale's certainty. A middle-aged Filipino immigrant named Ernesto was admitted with a chronic, antibiotic-resistant wound infection. Multiple treatment regimens had failed, and lab results offered no clear solution. Dr. Hale followed protocol meticulously, but progress was slow. Ernesto's condition stagnated, and frustration grew among the medical team. One evening, as Dr. Hale reviewed charts, Maria hesitantly mentioned that Ernesto's family had asked about using a traditional herbal compress alongside hospital treatment. Dr. Hale almost refused outright, citing policy, but desperation has a way of softening rigid beliefs. After careful discussion and strict conditions, Dr. Hale allowed the family to apply the herbal compress externally, ensuring it wouldn't interfere with prescribed medications. The mixture was simple. Crush leaves, boil and prepare with care, wrapped in clean cloth. Dr. Hale documented everything, convinced this would make no difference. Yet within days, something unexpected happened. The inflammation around the wound began to reduce. The angry redness softened, and for the first time in weeks, healthy tissue appeared at the edges. Dr. Hale double-checked lab results, assuming coincidence. But the numbers, like the wound itself, were slowly improving. Skepticism turned into cautious curiosity. Dr. Hale asked Maria about the plant used in the compress. She explained its local name and its traditional use for infections and inflammation. Back home, she said it was common knowledge. Dr. Hale researched it late into the night, surprised to find limited but intriguing studies suggesting antimicrobial properties. Nothing conclusive, nothing widely accepted, but enough to raise questions. He felt uncomfortable, as if standing on unfamiliar ground. Medicine, to him, had always been about certainty. Now, uncertainty was opening a door he never planned to walk through. Ernesto's recovery continued steadily. After months of stagnation, the wound finally healed enough for discharge. His family thanked the medical team, but their gratitude toward Maria was especially emotional. Dr. Hale watched quietly, conflicted. He knew modern medicine played a major role, but he could no longer dismiss the herbal treatment as irrelevant. The experience unsettled him. If this plan had helped, how many others existed beyond the pages of Western textbooks? How many had been ignored, not because they didn't work, but because they came from traditions deemed unscientific? Driven by unanswered questions, Dr. Hale requested time off and did something uncharacteristic. He traveled to the Philippines. Officially, it was a personal trip. Unofficially, it was a quiet investigation. Maria connected him with her family. And soon Dr. Hale found himself in a rural village surrounded by lush greenery. There were no labs, no sterile hallways, just people and plants. Elders spoke of healing as a relationship between the body, nature, and patience. Dr. Hale listened more than he spoke, aware that his usual authority meant little here. He observed traditional healers prepare remedies with deliberate care. Leaves were selected at specific times, cleaned meticulously, and prepared using methods refined over generations. This wasn't random guessing. It was a system, albeit undocumented by Western standards. Dr. Hale took notes, asked questions, and resisted the urge to judge. One healer explained that the plants worked not just chemically, but in harmony with the body. Dr. Hale didn't fully accept this explanation, but he couldn't deny the results he was seeing in patients who lacked access to hospitals, yet continued to recover. The turning point came when Dr. Hale himself fell ill. A severe gastrointestinal infection left him weak, dehydrated, and far from modern medical facilities. Ironically, the man who trusted only hospitals had no choice but to rely on local care. A traditional herbal tea was prepared for him, bitter and earthy. He hesitated, then drank it. Over the next 2 days, his symptoms eased. By the third day, he was walking again. Rational explanations raced through his mind, but deep down, he knew something fundamental had shifted. This was no longer an abstract debate. Returning to the United States, Dr. Hale faced a professional dilemma. Sharing his experience risked ridicule. The medical community was not kind to those who challenged established norms without overwhelming evidence. Yet staying silent felt dishonest. He began cautiously, proposing a small observational study on the herbal plant used in Ernesto's treatment. Funding was hard to secure, and colleagues were skeptical. Some openly mocked the idea. Dr. Hale endured it, reminding himself that progress often begins at the edge of discomfort. Science, after all, was supposed to investigate, not dismiss. The early results were modest but consistent. The plant extract showed measurable antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory effects in controlled settings. It wasn't a miracle cure, and Dr. Hale was careful to emphasize that. But it was real. Slowly, attitudes softened. A few colleagues expressed quiet interest. Journals that once rejected his submissions now requested revisions instead. The laughter he once shared at the expense of herbal medicine echoed in his memory, now tinged with humility. He realized how easily expertise can become arrogance when curiosity is replaced by certainty. Dr. Hale reframed his message. This wasn't about replacing modern medicine, but expanding it. He spoke about integration, respect, and collaboration. Traditional knowledge, he argued, was a starting point, not an end point. It deserved investigation, not ridicule. His talks began attracting attention beyond academia. Patients, especially from immigrant communities, felt seen. For them, this wasn't new information, it was validation. Dr. Hale understood now that medicine didn't exist in a vacuum. It lived within cultures, histories, and lived experiences often ignored by clinical charts. Maria watched this transformation quietly, proud but unsurprised. She had never needed studies to believe in the remedies of her childhood, but she appreciated Dr. Hale's effort to bridge two worlds. One evening, she reminded him of the day he laughed. Dr. Hale smiled not defensively but reflectively. He admitted that laughter had come from fear of the unknown, fear of losing control. Accepting that truth was as healing for him as any medicine. It made him a better doctor, and perhaps a better listener. As Dr. Hale's work gained recognition, invitations came from conferences and global health organizations. He always emphasized caution and ethics, warning against blind acceptance just as strongly as blind rejection. The real lesson, he said, was balance. Modern medicine saves lives every day, but it doesn't have a monopoly on healing. Knowledge can come from microscopes and from mountains, from laboratories and from villages. The challenge is knowing how to listen without judgment and test without disrespect. This message resonated in a world increasingly aware of cultural blind spots. Critics remained, and Dr. Hale welcomed them. Debate, he believed, was healthier than dismissal. He encouraged young doctors to ask questions and to engage with patients' beliefs rather than dismiss them outright. Trust, he learned, was a powerful medicine. Patients who felt heard were more likely to comply with treatment plans and share vital information. This simple shift improved outcomes in ways no drug could replicate. The herbs were important, but the humility they inspired may have been the most powerful treatment of all. Years later, Dr. Hale revisited the Philippines, not as a skeptic, but as a collaborator. This time, he brought researchers and resources, ensuring local communities benefited from any discoveries. Agreements were made to protect traditional knowledge from exploitation. For the elders, this respect mattered more than recognition. Dr. Hale understood now that healing was not something to be taken, but shared. The laughter that once separated him from this world had been replaced by gratitude and responsibility. Back in his hospital, a small garden appeared on the rooftop. It wasn't a pharmacy, just a symbol. Medical students rotated through his department, hearing the story of the doctor who once laughed. It became a lesson not about herbs, but about mindset. Medicine, they learned, evolves when certainty gives way to curiosity. The world is vast, and no single system holds all the answers. Dr. Hale never stopped being a scientist. He simply became a wiser one. Ernesto occasionally sent letters, photos of family gatherings, reminders of the case that started it all. Dr. Hale kept them in his office. They grounded him. Every time a student or a colleague dismissed a patient's belief too quickly, he remembered that wound, those leaves, and his own laughter. The memory served as a quiet warning. Healing often begins where pride ends. And sometimes, the most powerful medicine comes wrapped not in prescriptions, but in stories waiting to be taken seriously. So the next time someone laughs at what they don't understand, remember this story. An American doctor laughed at Filipino herbal medicine until he saw the results. Not because science failed, but because it had more to learn. In a world divided by certainty, the future of healing may belong to those willing to listen, test, and respect knowledge in all its forms. This isn't a story about choosing sides. It's a reminder that progress begins the moment we stop laughing and start paying attention. This is History Media.